A reading from the Gospel of Luke. Now the time came for Elizabeth to give birth, and she bore a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard that the Lord had shown his great mercy to her, and they rejoiced with her. On the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to name him Zechariah after his father. But his mother said, "No, he is to be called John." They said to her, "None of your relatives has this name." Then they began motioning to his father to find out what name he wanted to give him. He asked for a writing tablet and wrote, "His name is John." And all of them were amazed. Immediately his mouth was opened and his tongue was freed, and he began to speak, praising God. Fear came over all their neighbors, and all these things were talked about throughout the entire hill country of Judea. All who heard them pondered with them and said, "What then will this child become?" For indeed the hand of the Lord was with him. If we remember back just a little bit in this opening couple chapters of Luke, Zechariah has had his tongue and his mouth bonded, closed, because when the angel Gabriel came to him and announced to him that his wife was to have a child, he doubted. He questioned. And therefore he was unable to speak, presumably for 9 months. And here in this moment, he affirms what God has commanded him. He affirms who this child is, and he gives him the name that the angel told him to. His name is John. I wonder, have you ever had a moment where you got into something, whether it was maybe a lie or something like that, where all of a sudden it got kind of bigger than you expected? Or you didn't tell the whole truth, or you were withholding part of who you are in a relationship, something like that. And I know certainly I have. And there's a moment where, having suffered with that for a period of time, lying or withholding doesn't feel good. That's a hard thing to keep up. It's exhausting, quite frankly. And then there's this moment where you're able to share the truth. You're able to acknowledge the truth, and you are set free. It doesn't mean that there isn't remaining hurt or questions around whatever that scenario was, but there is a liberation in acknowledging and speaking truth. And I think that is some of what Zechariah experienced when he acknowledged his son John, this beautiful gift from God who was to proclaim the coming of the Messiah. We too need to speak that truth. We need to be like Zechariah and ultimately like John, as we'll hear as we go through this story. We need to have the courage, and we need to be unbounded in our ability to speak truth. When we speak and acknowledge the truth of who Christ is, that God came down and took human flesh because God loved us so much, when we speak that truth, we experience a freedom and a liberation like no other. So today, embrace the spirit of Zechariah and speak your truth. Amen.